Chris is going to help us out here. Got Seth.
What's up?
Dave. My buds.
Ready for the big unveil.
There we go. Lift it up.
Go lift it up?
No, just a minute. We'll get there. Calm down.
Lift it up. Oh, lift it up.
Yeah, my bad.
Just need to calm.
Ready?
I hope so, because he's recording.
Okay.
All right, welcome back to the bonus stage at the Midwest Gaming Classic. Right now, we've got Chris Downing, and Downing is very talented in what he does. He makes these projects that I don't know if anyone ever thinks of these before, but I'm very excited to have him on the stage. So, Chris, how have you been? What have you been up to lately?
I've been very, very busy, and you know, with life in general. But as far as projects go, I think I've finally hit the coup de grace, if you will, as far as a vision of mine that's been going on for about 15 years. It's finally come to life.
You've outdone yourself this time.
Well, I'd hope so, but we'll see what happens.
Well, you are a mad scientist when it comes to this stuff.
Thank you.
One of the smartest guys I've ever met. Genuinely mean that. Stuff you do is insane.
Well, I appreciate it.
So what are we revealing today? Are you ready for this?
Yeah, well, I think as a lot of people know, I've been an enthusiast of the Nintendo 64 forever. And I've done countless iterations of portable Nintendo 64s, which a couple of years ago, this was a brand new design and for a commission that I did. And then once that one finished off, it went together in such a way where I was just like, you know what? I think I can finally do this. And of course, what that's finally doing is, well,
I get to pull it?
You get to pull it.
Oh man, here we go. What do we got here?
Da-da-da. So this is my first successful attempt at building a portable Nintendo 64 DIY kit that will allow pretty much anyone with even just a little bit of electronics experience or knowledge to assemble that. And so it's been quite the up and down over the years. You know, when I first tried to do this, I think my first attempt was 12 years ago. It did not go well. The things were not there in order to make it right or make it any easier for anybody else to put it together. But now, with the help of some of our friends downstairs in the BitBuilt rooms, we've got a full-on, one-to-one. You can build this kit yourself, hopefully with very minimal F-bombs.
So you're giving everyone the ability to build their own N64 portable.
Correct.
No Raspberry Pi, none of that
No
stuff.
Raspberry Pi, all original hardware.
This is
Do not
real.
go there with me. We've had this talk before. So yeah, I just, like I said, I've been working on this for over a year now. It was based off of an old design, or new design, and then trying to refine that design into a kit that is not only accessible for people who might not exactly be in deep into it like I am, but just want to have a project to do. It's all here, and it's just about ready to go.
Any kind of soldering type word for that?
Yes, there will be soldering. It's not a solder-free kit, but it has been immensely simplified.
So the man behind the camera, Game Dad, did he have any inspiration behind this for you?
So he was probably the one that last year here, he said, you know, I was showing him this, I had a couple of these that I brought over, and he's just like, you know, if you made this into a kit, you know, I'd buy that. And today I get to hold you to it.
Here's my wallet.
No, but it had been something I wanted, like I said, to do a long time ago, but now it's finally here.
What are the tech specs for this thing?
All right, so if you want, we can open it up and kind of get into it. But
Yeah, let's open it up.
basically, like I said, this is an original Nintendo 64 based system, no emulation, anything like that. And it includes everything you need to do so, aside from obviously the N64 itself, because, well, that would be an absolute nightmare to try and source and whatever, but most people maybe even have one already. And the batteries. Those are the only two components that are not really included in the kit. But everything else, I know this is going to be a little bit difficult, hard to see, but I'll try and do my best here.
There'll be a video later.
Yes. But right at the top, you open the kit, you've got a fully 3D printed enclosure that's got pretty much all the standoffs, all the holders, everything you need, already pre-done. You're basically just taking the components and putting it together.
And I just want to say, I've used this before with the one that you made, and it feels great. Like, it truly does feel like a portable N64. There's no issues with the controls or the buttons. It looks and works great.
Great, thank you. We have a laminated vinyl decal, which will sit right over the top and basically there'll be multiple versions of this. You can have different artwork if you wanted to, just to kind of make it your own. But it'll have 4 standard versions and maybe custom versions down the road. And on the inside, the cool thing about this is, like, I tried to make it as simple as possible. Every component is labeled and packaged according to the online guide that also will accompany this. This is going to have a one-to-one, holding your hand every step of the way, even painfully, to show you this screw goes here, this screw goes there, and everything is labeled individually. One second. Like, painstakingly individually labeled down to like the hardware and the screw. So the hardware pack is right here. It's got everything you need with it, individually sealed and shrink wrapped on the back, and numbered and labeled, so you can correspond with exactly which part needs to go where, when you need to get to it.
As someone who does a lot of mods, wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it's designed to oversimplify things. And I did the same thing. It's got 3D printed custom SLA buttons with the contact pads that go with them. So it uses actual controller components and not really tack switches for the main controls anyway. It utilizes a custom cartridge slot reconnector with a flex cable. So basically it allows you to take the original card slot, turn it at a 90-degree angle, and instead of wiring 100 points, it's all done via just one cartridge connector, and you just solder right across the board. So no, and that was the other cool thing about this, because on top of going in that theory, this has got an entire set of custom circuit boards that were done by 4-Layer Tech that handle the audio, that handle the controller, that handle the power. And each one of these pretty much eliminates a potential point of failure as you're trying to assemble, because all of those go onto the heart motherboard, which basically all these modular components solder directly to the board. And so you have 0 wiring when it comes to all of these features. And it also utilizes a few modern amenities like USB-C charging and digital audio, which it takes directly from the N64, so there's no humming, hissing, buzzing, or anything like that. It just goes right direct to it. And again, I have to thank Gunnar and G-Man from 4-Layer Tech for designing all these. Because it's just, if we had this type of stuff 16 years ago when I started, but I mean, that's kind of the whole inspiration behind this too, is because years ago, we used to make jokes about, you know, someone should just make this a kit, make my life so much easier. And, well, no one else was gonna do it, so.
So this is 16 years of innovation.
Thereabouts. I mean, I haven't really changed the game too much, but until probably today. But and on top of that, you've got all the little components as well, like your battery clips, heat sink, speakers, LEDs. Everything that you need is all individual, all labeled, and will tell you exactly when and where you need to freaking put it. I mean, I'm not sure if I could make it any simpler. And I spent probably more time than I should have in an attempt to get it to this point. And then there's the last of the 3D printing components. Again, and this is still subject to change a little bit. This is just a prototype kit, but it will eventually be, hopefully very soon, finalized.
So how can people get one? And is there a Kickstarter going on?
So within the next couple of weeks, the plan is to make a Kickstarter once I got a little bit better feel for, you know, the reception about this, what people are going to think about it. And the Kickstarter is mainly just for if we were going to be doing, or if interest was high enough to actually sell 100 units. Because that's the other thing too, is I'm capping these out at 100, because I'm just one guy doing this. I don't want it to get big, I don't want it to do that, but I just wanted to have something that people that, if they want to get into the hobby, or veterans want to give it a try, be available to do it. But, the Kickstarter is mainly just in case it does get to that level, I can leverage the buying power to get, screens, for example. Instead of buying 1 or 2 at a time, I can get 100 and get them for like 50% off, and therefore that cost savings gets passed on. Or the case. The case, if it's successful, I'll be able to outsource, so I don't have to do 7 3D printed parts per case 700 times on my printer. It's not very practical. So, but if it doesn't get funded, that's still okay. It's still going to be available. It's just going to be a little bit more expensive.
Are there any cons to this? Are there parts not included in the kit or anything like that?
So, as I mentioned before, there were a couple of parts that weren't practical to include, the N64 itself, but also the batteries for shipping restrictions and blah blah. But the 2 big downsides to this and making it portable in general is that this is now limited to single player, and it also does not incorporate the expansion pack. Now, you could do both if you wanted to, but from a portable standpoint, when you're trying to do something that's using batteries and you have it in a tight enclosure, heat and battery drainage are 2 of the things you want to avoid. The expansion pack almost doubles the draw, and it also creates twice as much heat. So opting to not include those and have a bunch of melted return kits is really something I wanted to avoid. So those aren't done, but you can theoretically do it. You could put multiplayer taps in here if you wanted to. You could, make an audio video output if you wanted to. You could still do all that. I mean, that's one of the benefits of modding, but it's just not something that seemed very practical to include.
If someone wants to get this, what's the expected price point depending on how the Kickstarter turns out?
So if the Kickstarter is successful, again, this is just a range right now. I haven't been able to dial it in totally yet, but I'm trying to get it down to around $250, $300 if the Kickstarter is successful. If it's not, it's probably going to be about $100 or so more than that. So, I mean, it's not terrible. I know it's a little expensive, but this hobby has always been expensive, and I cannot explain or even want to think about the amount of money I haven't told my wife to spend.
I mean, you'll spend $100, $200 on just a video out mod. This is a full kit.
Yeah, and I mean, it does have its benefits of being original hardware too. But like I said, this hobby is and always will be expensive for many reasons.
So explain where people can get more information if they want to help fund the Kickstarter or...
Yep. So downingsbasement.com, I've actually got a page dedicated to the kit now, and it will be updated as I go when the Kickstarter goes live. There's also a contact form down at the bottom of it where if you want to get put on the wait list, or not the wait list, but the notification list. Basically, it just sends me your email and tells me that I'm interested in this, let me know when we're at the next step. And currently, I've had a couple people who wanted to kind of pre-buy it or whatever, but at this point, once the Kickstarter goes live, and I'm going to be dedicated to that particular avenue, that'd be the best way to help out is to try and get that thing funded, because not only does it help me out and not having to end up printing case after case after case, but it also ends up being cheaper for you in the back end too. So helping with the Kickstarter is going to be paramount, and I wish I had time to actually get it set before today, but you know how things go. But that will be coming hopefully within 2 weeks of today. Everything should be good enough, and just waiting on them to approve it.
What was the biggest hurdle that you had with this project, and how did you kind of get over that?
So the biggest hurdle for the past 15 years has been just how do I get all of this into a package that makes sense for other people that want to try and do that. And I think the game changer really is when these started to become available. You know, it started out small with like modular components, like, I don't know if you want to. So, being able to take certain components and easily mount them to like a motherboard or something, like, let's get the controller board out here. So, of course I didn't open it up yet. But this right here is the entire power management system of the portable N64s. Whereas we used to have regulators, we used to have all sorts of different things on the inside that needed to be soldered, resisted, and whatnot. And it was a total nightmare sometimes. You actually had to be dead on, you made a mistake, and poof, your entire project, oh, there it goes. Poof.
Comedic timing, nice.
Fried, there we go. So this little piece of junk right here is like a lifesaver when it comes to reliability and functionality, because we're actually, for the final kit, there's going to be a custom version of this for the N64 as well. This one is actually for a Wii, but it does the same thing. But you put it right down there, it's done, and that's it. The reliability, like I said, is huge. Same deal for the audio, same deal for the controller board. This, okay. This is a controller that has the memory card built right onto it. So basically all you're doing is taking this and putting it right down on the board, soldering up a few test points, and it's done. So really, that was a turning point, and that was the biggest hurdle that I had getting over that, because it was so much tedious work that most people wouldn't want to push it that far, and even if they did, there's no guarantee it was going to work out right.
Did you bounce this idea off anyone else in the community, or was it 100% your genius work?
No, well, a few years ago, my buddy G-Man, who actually did up all these designs for the modules, he did up the G-Boy kit, which was a portable Wii inside basically a GameCube-sized enclosure. Like literally that small, and that's what it was. And he ended up building a kit with that with a bunch of his spit-built friends, and it was just incredible. He was doing and did exactly what I wanted to do for so many years and nailed it. So after, like I said, this last one, which he helped me work on a couple of years ago, it finally came into play like, oh, this could work. And he was kind enough to work with me on the design, and now it's here.
Are there any games that give this issues? Did you run into any glitches, or can they play the entire N64 library?
It can play it up to the extent of like not having the expansion pack. So, and this has only really been tested with NTSC versions of the board. I don't really see any issues using a PAL board or whatnot, but I also don't anticipate these really going anywhere that someone's going to put a PAL board in it. But that's something I'd still have to test to make sure. But as far as the American or North American NTSC versions go, everything works great.
So one of the things that you were mentioning with some of the parts was that they were 3D printed.
Yep.
How much did the advancement of 3D printing really help this project along?
Well, that could go into a long, long rabbit hole down, a deep rabbit hole there, but I'd say it's imperative, because, I mean, everything was designed, I'm worried about the bag now, but, so everything was designed modularly with 3D printing in mind. So you've got your brackets that pretty much house, like you got your front face, you got your back face brackets, you got your front face plate, your back face plate, all with everything already laid out for it to go. And if that wasn't, available to design from the ground up, this would not have happened. And as far as the technology goes, I mean, this is standard FDM and SLA, which is pretty common now, but it definitely does help to have high quality printers, obviously. But the advancement in 3D printing itself has been imperative.
All right, let's say somebody gets this kit, they open it up, they start the process. How long, by following the instructions, would it take for them to build this?
So that's going to depend on skill level and perseverance, because realistically, I think where they're going to run into the hardest part is when it comes time to actually, well, that's the thing. The assembly is so easy now that I would dare say that if somebody were to sit down, they could build something like this in a day. If they were really, focused on it and whatnot. There are going to be times when, like, depending on what type of glue you get when you try to, put these together, how long is that going to take to set? Or, there could be a bunch of other little minimal things that pop up that maybe I didn't even see. But in theory, you should be able to follow this and definitely have this done in a few days if you were trying to.
Are you going to offer any type of warranty, anything like that?
So it's basically going to come down to, well, how did it break? Because I'm not going to be, or can't be obviously like responsible for damage or injury or stuff like that, but if it's like component failure or something of that nature that, some reason that one of the modules didn't work right out of the box or something like that, then yeah, we'd be honoring stuff like that. But modding is, I would say, by its nature, designed to be an uphill learning experience, if you will. But
at your own risk.
Yes, at your own risk type deal, because there's plenty of times when I have toasted $100 motherboards or whatever, and you learn from it, and that's part of the experience too, because it gets pretty old when you start, being a dumbass and not being able to realize I could be $100 richer right now if I just not put that red wire to the black wire type situation.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that last year and the year before, where, like, yes, you could mess this up, and it's totally on you. It's your fault, your money. It's like, yes, it is what it is. So that for me is like my hesitation with the kit is because I'm not an expert with my hands.
But that's the benefit, and the cool thing about this is that it takes 90% of that guesswork out of the equation right off the bat. I mean, in most cases, you literally have to solder these modules on upside down for them not to work. And they're even, like, the pins all line up to one another. It's very difficult to screw this up.
And those are large pin pads.
Yes, by design.
Yeah.
So if people here at the Midwest Gaming Classic want to test one out, where can they find it? Can they play one today?
Well, they can play the not older, but the version of the N64 that came before this. Call that its father, if you will, and get a feel for what it's going to be like. And then downstairs in the bib build room, I do have this kit and another one with pieces and whatnot out available for everyone to kind of look at and see if it's something they'd be interested in getting into.
Wonderful. And then just one last thing, do you want to plug again where people can do, or when is the Kickstarter coming? It's not live yet, right?
Right.
It's coming.
It's coming. I'm hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks I'll have that up and going. I wanted to have actual reactions of people here for its video, and just so we can kind of get a real true world experience of what people can expect when they make a pledge.
Yeah, and I can't say how cool this thing is enough. Like, playing with these over the last couple of years, they are just fantastic. The quality's excellent. It's a N64
In your hands.
in your hands. It's fantastic.
A real one.
Such a no Raspberry Pi.
No Raspberry Pis.
I mean, this is game changing with this kit. This really is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. I mean, that's just something that gets some of those that might be on the fence the ability to really be like, oh, this is cool. And then they get into the next project and realize, oh, that was easy to get myself into. And then you gotcha.
Do you have any closing thoughts? Or does anyone have any questions they want to ask real quick?
You wanted a crowd reaction. What do you guys think of this? Yeah.
All right, I'll take that.
Sweet. There's half the orders.
Yes. Yep. So on my site, I've got, because obviously that's one of the other things I should have said weren't included, was tools and consumables. So your solders and your things like that are all going to have to be sourced. But I did put a list of everything that I've either used in the past, currently use, or know that you're going to need this to actually consume it. But your very basics, some set of precision screwdrivers, a good soldering iron, a decent decent type of solder, and flux is always important, especially when you're dealing with PCBs and circuit boards of that nature. And really just, it doesn't take a lot, but if you're coming in fresh from the start, it may seem like that. But once you have them, you've got them, you're on to the next one. But just some just basic precision electronics tool sets, like I saw those like iFixit toolkits or something like that. Those would be perfect for this type of situation. And then just a little bit of soldering equipment, but there's not nearly as much as there used to be. So you got a little bit of a leeway there.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to the Kickstarter being successful for the N64 Portable Kit that you guys can build yourselves. Incredible. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.